Hello, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, my name is Emmanuel. In today's video we'll continue with check buttons and radio buttons. Before we take a step into the tutorial, make sure you smash the like button, click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Now let's get into the video. Welcome back guys. So as you can see, I have the setup for the file already done. We're going to be talking about check button and radio button. Now, what is a check button? It's just that type of button that provides you with two options. If you don't know what a check button is, it's just that box that you can check and uncheck, which usually have a text on the side to show you what you are checking for or unchecking from. Here's a picture. If you want to have a look at it, it takes a number of arguments a normal button would, like the text argument, the image. You can display an image alongside the text. That's compound, of course. That's what that is used for. It has cursor, attribute and command. Okay, now let's create a check button and see how that works. So we're gonna do, let's create a variable. Let's put that in a variable and do check1 equals to ttk dot. So the names are pretty descriptive. We're going to inherit from roots, and then let's say text equals to, let's just say a minute. I need to change something. This is incorrect. Okay, I could notice some changes in how I type there. So we're gonna do check1 dot grid. So I'm going to do Control B. Now you can see this is a check button, checked, unchecked, checked, unchecked. That minus you saw at first is just the try state. It means it's neither checked nor unchecked. Okay. Now how do you create a check button with a command on change? So all you have to do is just do command. So whenever you change, check changed. So whenever you change this, whenever you check or uncheck, rather, this command is called. So I'm going to define that up here, define check change, and then we're going to print check one, so we know that works. So we're going to Control B. Now if I click on it, check one, check one, check one, you see that. Now what we're going to do here is instead is we're just going to print check one the get. Let's see if that gives us anything. So I'm going to do Control B. So whenever I click it, okay, so as you can see, check one doesn't have no get. Now we're gonna get to something else later, and there's a reason why I did this. There's a reason why I did this, so you can see this error. Okay, I'm gonna cancel this. Now you know the get doesn't work. We can't get the value from this, and you're probably confused why we can't get a value from a check button, but we'll get to that. Now, how do we add images to a check button? So let me just undo this and just print check one. Okay, so how do we add images? Of course, we have to do the standard. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that, guys. So we need to create an image object. So what we'll do is we'll just do image img, and then we'll do tk.photo image object, and then the file. We need to pass the file. So I'm not going to be using this WhatsApp image that is really big. I'm going to be using this other one. This one, yeah, this small one, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do arrow. This is here, arrow upright dot png. Okay. Now we have that. How do we display an image? All we have to do just do comma image equals to img. So we have 77 characters. Now we have image already. I'm gonna save that and run it. As you can see, we have our image there. But why is our text not showing? That's because we need the compound to be able to display our image relative to the text. So we're gonna do compound. How do we want to place our image? We want to place our image. We have either left, center, or right. So we're gonna display our image to the left of the text. So if I contribute now, oh my goodness, as you can see, it's at the left of the text. You see how that works? Okay, and that's how you display an image with this in a check button. So if you want to know how to use the cursor type, I explained that in my video on labels. Just go there on the timeline, just check the timeline and click on it. You should see how you add fonts. It's the same way you add fonts to a label. It's the same way you add a cursor to a label. You add a cursor to a check button. Now you have to just do cursor, and then let's just say man. So if I run this now, it shows a man whenever you're on the check button. Okay, so if you want to learn more about that, check my video on label. I'll put in the description below and up here. You should see about right now. I'm gonna clear this. Cool. Now, to make a check button functional, we have to make use of what we call a variable in Tkinter. Okay, so now what we talk about, when we think about variables, it's not just normal text strings, numbers. Of course, they are related to this, but these variables are pertaining to Tkinter, and the best way you can see them as are just ways of storing Tkinter strings, Tkinter numbers. So we have the int var, the string var. As we need them, I'm going to mention them. So I don't want you to be bothered about what we have. So what we're going to make use of to make our check button function now is the string var. Okay, so I'm going to show you how that works in here. Now we come here and then we'll say check var tk.string var, string variable. So we are saying we want to create a string variable. Now how is this even used? That doesn't make our check button function. Of course, if I run this, nothing changes. Okay, you see the same check button. Now all we have to do is just come here and then we do variable. Okay, now when we do variable, we're not telling our check button that what this is the variable. Okay, not the string. We pass and check var there. So we're telling our check button this is the variable we want to store our value from the check button. Okay, so whenever I need to get any value, like to either know if my check button was clicked or not, all I have to reference is just this check var, which our check button is passing its results, its answers to. For example, if I click on our check button, if it's a true, it passes it here, which will usually be denoted with 1. If it's a false, it passes 0 in here, which will usually be denoted with 0. So if I need to get my value from my checkbox, for example, let's assume I'm submitting a form, all I have to do is just reference the check var to get my value. So how do I show that now? Remember I tried doing check button dot get here, didn't work. What if I do print check var dot get? Now let's see what happens. If I Ctrl B and I click on this, now you see it shows 1, which and it's checked. That's for checked. I click on it 0, 1, 0. So that's what it's used for. You can't just use your check. You can't get your value directly from check button like this. Although the other widgets where you can just get your values like this, but typically you usually use variables. Okay, never mind, we'll get to the other widget as well. Okay, now you know how that works, how to make your check button function. Now whenever you want to use check on check, this is how you get it. You reference your variable. Okay, now your variable is, and by the way, you can also connect this variable to another check button, but of course it's not ideal. Then you might be getting not what you want, but just make sure you have one variable connected to a check button. There are two arguments that will definitely be of use or might be important, and those are the onValue and offValue. This is simply used to set what the value of a checkbox we hold when checked and the value to hold when unchecked, which is really useful for me. Now let's see how that works. So we're gonna come here. Then if I do onValue, so this onValue means whenever our check, okay, I just wanted to be consistent with the codes there. So this onValue means whenever our button is checked, if we do want 1, no, we don't want 1. What we want is for example, let's say we want yes, and offValue, of course, it might not be yes and no, to be something else depending on what it is. So it says whenever it's checked, it should give me a yes instead of 1, and whenever it's unchecked, it should give me a no instead of this. So if I run it now, Ctrl B, and I check it, instead of 1, it gives me a yes, off, no, yes, no, yes, no. And this int var, this string var, actually returns a string data type. So example, down here, if I do print type, so we want to check the type of the object we are getting from the check variable. As you can see, if I click it, it shows me a string. Even if, okay, let me clear this. Even if we still have our 1 and 0s, it still shows a string. So if you just want a number, you can change it to an int var. Okay, so if I do Ctrl B now and I do this, and I see it shows 1, 0 with the class of int instead. And get how that works. We have the int var and we also have the string var. Okay, so you know, if I change text variable, you should have some people confuse it. If I do Ctrl B and I try to do this, some people confuse it with what do you call it, with variable. So now as you can see, it's showing 0. So this 0 is the value it got from this check var. So we are saying what we want our, instead of our text being hello, we want our text to get our value from a variable which is from check var. So don't confuse them. There are some places where you use text variable instead, but we'll talk about that in another video. So we're going to do Ctrl Z to change back to string var and have our home value there. Instead of having our check button always in a checked and unchecked state, we can also have it in an indeterministic state when we first start our program, or by modifying the internal state of our check button. Okay, now we're talking about binary flags and all that. It's what enables us to change the state of our themed widgets. I'm talking about binary flags. TTK. When I say teamed widget, I mean TTK widget, teamed widget, TTK widget. And now, not just, it didn't just enable us to change the state of check buttons, they also enable us to change state of some other widgets. Okay, now let's check it out. If you want to, let's have a look, change it to an indeterministic state. So what we have to do is just come down and do check one. And when the indeterministic state I'm talking about is when we first run our program the first time, notice there was a minus here. That's the indeterministic state. It's neither 1 or 0, neither true or false, neither on value or off value. So we're gonna do check one dot state. Now I want to change the state. We can disabled. Okay, if I do Ctrl B, see our check button disabled. You must have seen me use this in the button. So to do the indeterministic one, all we have to just do alternate. And now I do Ctrl B, you see we have the minus at for always there. Now that's how that works. You can make it alternate. You can add disabled as many states as you want. Okay, as you can see, it's disabled, but it still has that indeterministic state there. So that's how that works, and that is it for check buttons. Now let's discuss radio buttons. It has almost the same argument, but it's different from a check button, such that it provides you with a list of options. You can pick only one from. The label or indicator of what the option is a text or can also be an image. Some similarities with the buttons. Radio button takes in a number of arguments as well as cursor, image, and compound definitely. Text variable, and you can also make it display a tri-state as well. Let's create a radio button. Oh, we're gonna call it radio. Then we're gonna do, let's just do radio 1 equals to radio button, and then we're gonna do what should we call, okay, sorry, we have to always inherit from roots, remember that. And the text, so what text you want to give it, let's just do a, then we'll do radio 1.grid. So if I do Ctrl B, as you can see we have this. Okay, we have that. Now I'm gonna create a bunch of these. I'm gonna do, okay, so we have that there. What I have to do is just select, I like this, Ctrl D, change that to 2, Ctrl D to select both, arrow right, and then change that to 3. Now I'm gonna I have to change this. Let's change it to just random things. Ctrl B, and you see we have this. But as you can see, we just have this all checked, which is not what we want. We'll talk about how to fix that. Now we have text. I'm gonna come down here. Okay. Now checkboxes are almost not functional without using the value argument. Best for the last, right? So now we have to pass in a value to make it functional, and the way we do that, we just do value equals to a. You can make it the same thing as what you have as your text anyway. Value equals to I, and value equals to there. I'm gonna do Ctrl B. Now if I do it like this, now you see we have distinct things. They all have their values, which means we can select them. Okay, now it's a little bit functional. I'm going to show you how to use images here as well. It's the same way you use images. All you have to do is just do image equals to img. I think I should have grabbed more than an image instead of just that one. Anyway, we use that one, and I'll do image equals img. If I do Ctrl B, you see we have the image there. Okay, and that's the same way you do image and text is the same way you, in other widgets, just like button and the check button we just discussed, the same way you work with your image and text. And how do you do that? You just make it of the compound to be able to position your image relative to your text. So all you have to just do comma, and then we'll come and do compound. I'm gonna copy that, copy, paste, and paste. I don't want this to be more than 79 characters. It gives pep. I'm gonna do oh my goodness. We're gonna do Ctrl D to select all of that. Make sure you select this first. If you're using Sublime, select this first and do Ctrl D. Then arrow right. So you have 3 cursors at 3 different positions. Now we're gonna position our image to the left of our text. Now we have that. So we have A, I, and there with different values. So you're wondering how can this ever be useful? We have to use variable, of course. So we're gonna come here and then we're gonna say radio var, and then we're gonna say tk dot, let's call it a string since we are making use of strings, and then we just do variable is equals to, so this is what we do instead. Let me see if that works. Control click. Okay, control click, put your cursor in 3 different places, then we'll do comma, and then variable is equals to, and then we'll say radio var. So let's click here, and then we'll do define get. Well, if you are going to be using something like this, I don't see the usefulness in this, because if you're gonna because of course the reason why I say so is because the reason why I'm creating something so we can use a command. Now if you're gonna be using a radio button, you won't be using the command, because the command button to me here is not very useful, because then you have to be putting command in each of this, and then that's one thing about Tkinter. If I do my command here, it won't work for the rest. So the only time it will work is whenever I click on one, then it calls the command for only that one. So let me, if I do command get radio, oh my goodness, radio, I'm gonna come up here and do my get radio. I'm gonna do radio var dot get. Now if I run this and I click this, you see nothing happens. But if I click this, then it only gets me the value, and this variable is useful, of course. I'm not saying it's not useful, but you won't be actually be using the command with this a lot. So I won't say the command is actually really useful in this. But if you still want to use it that way, all you have to do is Ctrl V, Ctrl V, Ctrl V, and then it just a lot. Your code just makes your code much. So when I click on this, it shows A, I, there, I, A. Okay, so that's how the radio buttons work. And I see there's nothing really much to it, just your image. You can also change your other attributes anyway. I don't want to talk too much about this, it's just as simple as it is. And that is it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you should give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on my next epic content. Much love, guys. Peace out.